Hi everyone, my name is Lavender Saturn and it is my first time here. I am also concussed, so please bear with me. I promise that my recollection of this story is as accurate as it's going to be. So, for work, I basically am in relationship management, and part of my job is just to get to know the business community and speak primarily with executives and business owners. So it's the day after the election, this most recent one, and it's a day with a lot of feelings and all of that. And so my boss and I, who's our president, we go and meet with this gentleman. And usually when I meet with business professionals, it's usually about the same. I don't really think anything good or bad or indifferent, but this one is going to be uncensored, and it is quite something. So anyways, we go in to his office, and he's like, oh, well, the election yesterday, such a close race, like what a close presidential race. And I'm thinking, well, there's only one possible way that you must have voted if that's your response, because most of us, or some of us at least, are feeling pretty devastated and are not too happy and are not going to be cheerful and say it's a close race. So anyways, long story short, we're kind of going through our typical questions, and for the most part this meeting was going as per usual, and it's getting a little bit late. He's a bit of a chatterbox, and trying to wrap it up and keep things moving because he's got another meeting to attend. And my boss asked a seemingly just a question that would not provoke any weird kind of response. And so he said, what restaurants do you like to go to downtown? And this person responded, I like to go to 401 Prime. Okay, cool, great, nice spot if you're able to dine at that type of cuisine and at that type of caliber. So anyways, he started to go down a hole that was one that I wish that he could have not gone down. He said to my boss, he's like, have you ever been there before? And my boss was like, yeah, I've been there one time. I got drinks, couldn't get dinner there, it's not inexpensive. And he was like, are you sure you've only been there once? It's a really nice spot. And my boss is like, yeah, I'm pretty sure it was only the one time and would love to go another time. And then the gentleman says, he's like, well, he's like, well, it's a pretty memorable spot. And my boss is just kind of like, I don't really know what he's getting at. And so then the gentleman was like, well, he's like, those waitresses. He's like, the entertainment alone is a reason to go. Have you seen those blondes? And I'm sitting there, as a female, and I'm just like, this is really not good. I don't know where this is going, but I really wish it would stop right about now. And my boss, honestly, I don't think he knew what to say either, and was just kind of like, no, I haven't been there. And then he's like, yeah, my wife and I were there. And he's like, oh, your wife was there with you? And then my boss is like, yeah, she was. And then he's like, are you sure you didn't notice the waitresses? And he's like, no. He's like, my wife would probably kill me. And then this gentleman says, well, he's like, well, that's why I got a new wife, because she doesn't care as much that I'm like this. And I was just like, oh, God, this is really not looking so great. And I just wanted to say, honestly, I feel terrible for anybody who works at 401 Prime or anybody who works at a restaurant that this man has been to. I don't know how old you might be thinking this person is, and based off of what I'm hearing from what he had shared, he's probably close to 80 years old. And the women that he's talking about, probably not his age or anywhere within that range. So that was quite uncomfortable, and I was just kind of sat there listening. And then I kind of thought that was hopefully the end of this weirdness. And then I was wrong, and I wish that wasn't the case. But anyways, at the end he gave me his business card, and then I gave him mine. So let me tell you how you properly pronounce my last name, because it has been pronounced wrong my entire life. It's T-I-T-I. I'm sure you can see where this is going. It is pronounced tie-tie, like two ties. Great. So anyways, he says to me, he's like, how do you pronounce your last name? And I was like, what I just said to you, tie-tie, like two ties. And then he looks at me, and I was like, oh God. And then he goes, it's not titty? I know, right? I was like, what the actual fuck? Like, in my head. I'm in a business meeting, and like, I can't obviously respond that way. I was really proud of myself because normally I wouldn't know what to say, and I just was like, no, actually, it's not. And then I reverted it back to something else. And so my boss and I, soon after, were leaving, and he was like walking down the stairwell, talking about the meeting. We recap like we normally do. He's like, I'm glad we got out of there before that got too bad. I'm like, well, I mean, I guess, but were you just asked that question about your last name? I don't think so. So anyways, yeah, that was a pretty memorable impression of someone and not somebody I'm super excited to see again. Thank you, guys.